It was a regular afternoon at Vin Diesel's restaurant, or at least, it seemed that way on the surface. The kitchen buzzed with activity as chefs worked quickly, preparing dishes for the evening crowd. Servers moved around the dining area, making sure every table had what it needed, and the faint chatter of customers filled the air. From the outside, everything looked like a perfectly coordinated operation. But there was something different in the air today, something that no one could quite put their finger on. Ven, however, wasn't part of the usual crowd. He wasn't in the public eye, where people would usually recognize him and ask for autographs or selfies. He was just a regular person today, someone who wanted nothing more than to sit down, enjoy a meal, and feel like he didn't have to be Vin Diesel, the famous actor, for just a few hours. It wasn't easy to find that kind of peace, especially in a place he owned. Even though the staff knew who he was, they respected his privacy, which was something he appreciated. On this particular afternoon, he was determined to sneak in quietly and not make a fuss. He didn't want anyone making a scene or fawning over him. He just wanted to be left alone for a bit. So, with a deep breath, he entered the restaurant from the back entrance, just like he had done countless times before when he wanted to avoid the spotlight. The door closed softly behind him, and he was immediately hit with the familiar smells of the kitchen. The scent of garlic, fresh herbs, and sizzling meat brought a sense of comfort that only a good meal could provide. Walking through the back hall, Ven made his way toward the dining area. He passed by the staff, giving a small nod of acknowledgement to those who didn't recognize him. He had done this before, slipping in unnoticed so he could escape from the chaotic world of fame for a while. It was like a little secret he kept from the world. Today, it felt like he might finally get that quiet afternoon he had been hoping for. As he walked deeper into the restaurant, however, something unusual caught his attention. The usual hum of the restaurant felt strangely muted, like the energy had shifted. The kitchen was still busy, but there was an undercurrent of tension in the air. Ven couldn't put his finger on it, but it felt like something was out of place. He paused for a moment, listening. The sound that reached his ears wasn't the usual chatter or clinking of silverware. Instead, it was something quieter, softer, a sound that didn't belong in the middle of a bustling restaurant. It was faint at first, but it was unmistakable, the sound of someone crying. It was used. The quiet hallways of the restaurant seemed much emptier now. The noise of the kitchen and the distant voices of servers were muffled in the background as Ven walked away from the small storage room. He had all the days after their conversation felt like a dream for Emily. She had tried to hold on to the words Ven had shared with her, but it still seemed too unreal. Someone like him, with everything he had accomplished, had taken the time to reach out to her. A struggling server. She couldn't quite wrap her mind around it. For days, she thought about the offer he had made. It wasn't just the financial support that caught her attention, it was the opportunity. The chance to learn something new, to pursue a career beyond the hustle of waiting tables. For so long, she had believed that her future was limited to the jobs she could get, that there was no way out. But Vin's words had planted a seed of possibility in her mind. And now, she found herself standing at a crossroads, unsure of where to go next, but feeling a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in years. The phone call came a few days later. She had almost forgotten about it, busy with work and the daily routine. The ringing of her phone snapped her out of her thoughts. When she saw the name on the screen, her heart skipped a beat. "Hello," she answered, her voice a bit shaky. "Hey, Emily, it's Ven," came the voice on the other end, smooth and warm as always. "I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing. Have you thought any more about what we talked about?" Emily sat down, her mind spinning. She had been putting off making a decision, unsure if she was ready to take such a big step. But hearing his voice again gave her the final push she needed. She knew it was time to take that step, to stop hiding behind her fears and doubts. I've thought about it a lot," she said, her words coming out in a rush. "And I've made a decision. I want to do it." I want to take the classes. I want to do something more with my life. There was a brief pause on the other end of the line, and then Vin's voice came back, full of encouragement. That's great to hear, Emily. I knew you had it in you. I'll take care of the details for you, don't worry. You're not alone in this. She let out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. It felt like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she was in control of her future. She wasn't just reacting to life anymore, she was actively choosing where she wanted to go. Over the next few weeks, Emily worked hard to keep up with her job while preparing for the next chapter. Ven had helped her apply to a local community college, where she had signed up for courses in business management, something she had always been interested in but never thought she could afford to pursue. The classes were a bit daunting at first, but the excitement of learning something new kept her going. Every day, she felt herself growing, both in knowledge and confidence. The restaurant became a backdrop to her transformation. Emily continued to work her shifts, but she started to feel like there was a bigger world out there waiting for her. The stress of everyday life was still there, she still had bills to pay, and her family still relied on her. But with each passing day, she felt like she was slowly building something for herself. Something that could carry her far beyond the walls of the restaurant. One evening, after a long shift, Emily was walking out of the restaurant when she ran into one of her co-workers, Jasmine. Jasmine was a friendly face who always had a smile for everyone, but tonight, she seemed more serious than usual. She gave Emily a curious look before speaking. "Hey, I heard you were taking some classes now. That's awesome. What made you decide to do that?" Emily smiled, feeling a little shy about sharing the full story. "Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about my future, and I realized I don't want to stay stuck in this job forever. I want to do something more, something that challenges me. So I decided to take the plunge and go for it." Jasmine raised an eyebrow, impressed. "That's really brave, Emily. I think a lot of people talk about doing things like that but never actually do. It takes guts. I'm proud of you." Emily's heart warmed at her friend's words. It wasn't easy to take that first step, but now, with each little victory, she began to feel more and more like she was on the right path. She didn't know exactly where it would lead, but she was finally taking control of her own story. The weeks turned into months, and soon Emily was in the rhythm of her new life. Her college courses started to feel more natural, and her grades reflected the hard work she was putting in. She still worked at the restaurant, but it no longer felt like the center of her world. It was just a part of her story now, not the whole thing. Ven continued to check in with her every so often, offering advice and encouragement when she needed it. He didn't try to take credit for her success, he didn't need to. He had simply shown her that there was a way out, that there was more to life than the struggle. And for that, Emily would always be grateful. One day, several months after that pivotal conversation, Emily stood outside the community college, a notebook in her hand, ready to tackle her next class. As she glanced around at the familiar surroundings, a wave of gratitude washed over her. She had come a long way since that moment in the storage room at the restaurant, the moment when she had felt like giving up. She wasn't the same person anymore. She had learned to trust herself, to take risks, and to believe that change was possible. As she made her way to her next class, her phone buzzed with a message. She pulled it out and smiled when she saw it was from Ven. "How's it going? I hope you're still kicking butt in those classes. Keep it up. I'm proud of you." Emily read the message and felt a warmth spread through her chest. It wasn't just the message itself, it was the realization that she wasn't alone. There were people who believed in her, and most importantly, she had begun to believe in herself. She looked ahead, a sense of excitement building inside her. The future wasn't perfect. It wasn't going to be easy. But for the first time in a long time, she felt ready. Ready to face whatever came next. ready to chase the dreams she had once thought were impossible. And with every step she took, she knew she was moving closer to the life she had always deserved. The restaurant was getting busier as the evening approached. The sounds of clinking silverware, the sizzling of food on the grill, and the chatter of the patrons created a familiar hum in the air. But even as the usual activity resumed, Emily was still sitting in the storage room, her mind whirling with thoughts. She had been thinking about everything Ven had said, trying to piece together how she could move forward from the seemingly endless cycle of struggle. But as the evening unfolded, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted inside her. It was moments like these, she thought, when life seemed to stand still. And in that stillness, she felt a strange sense of clarity. A glimmer of hope, though faint, had been sparked. It wasn't that her problems had disappeared, they were still there, heavy and real. But for the first time, she saw a possibility for something better. She wasn't sure how, and she wasn't sure when, but she knew that if she could keep moving forward with the right mindset, things could change. As the evening rush continued, Emily decided to take a break. She stepped out into the hallway, trying to clear her head. The coolness of the air felt good against her skin. She was about to lean against the wall when she saw Ven walking toward her once again. This time, he wasn't as quiet as he had been before. He walked with purpose, his eyes scanning the area for a moment before he spotted her. Emily wasn't sure if she should expect him to just say a few quick words and leave. After all, he had already done more than enough by stopping to talk to her earlier. She had no idea what more he could possibly do for her. She had barely even had time to process everything he'd said before life had pulled her back into its regular chaos. But when Ven saw her, he smiled warmly. "Hey, there you are. Can I talk to you for a minute?" Emily paused, her heart racing. She had no idea what he might want to say next. She had already taken so much of his time today, and she felt a strange mix of gratitude and embarrassment. "Of course," she said, trying to sound calm. Ven motioned for her to follow him, leading her toward the back of the restaurant. It was quieter there, away from the hustle and bustle of the busy kitchen. He stopped by a small window that overlooked the back alley, giving them both a little privacy. "I've been thinking about what you said earlier," Ven began, looking at her with a serious expression. "You mentioned that you don't have the luxury to just wait around for things to get better. And I get that. Life's been throwing a lot your way, and you're doing everything you can to keep things together. But you don't have to do it all alone." Emily's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't sure what he was getting at, but the way he said it made her pause. She'd heard kind words before, but this felt different. "I don't know what you mean," she said cautiously, not sure if she could trust where this conversation was going. Ven looked down for a moment, then back at her. His eyes were warm but also full of purpose. "I mean that I can help," he said simply. "I know it's tough. And it's one thing for someone to say, 'Don't worry, it'll get better.' But it's another thing to actually do something about it. And that's why I'm here." Emily stared at him, stunned. She had no idea where this conversation was going, but it felt like she was on the edge of something huge. "Help how?" she asked, her voice quiet, almost afraid to believe it. "I don't know what else to do. I'm working as much as I can. I'm trying, but it just feels like everything is falling apart. I don't know where to turn anymore." Ven gave her a reassuring smile. "I've been in your shoes. I know what it's like to feel like there's no way out. But there is. I want to offer you something. A chance to change things." Emily blinked, trying to process what he was saying. What could he possibly offer her? He was a celebrity, a successful actor. She couldn't imagine how he could help someone like her, a server struggling to get by. Ven continued, his tone sincere. "I can't promise that everything will magically get better, but I can help take some of the weight off your shoulders. I want to offer you something real, something that will help you get back on your feet." I want to pay for you to take courses, to go back to school, or even to learn a new skill that could get you into a better position." Emily's mouth went dry. She stared at him, her thoughts racing. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Wait, what? You mean, pay for me to go to school?" "Yeah," Ven said, nodding. "You don't have to keep juggling jobs that drain you. You deserve more than that. If there's something you're passionate about, anything, you can go for it. I'll cover it. It's not just about paying bills. It's about giving you the opportunity to live a life that's more than just surviving." Emily's mind was spinning. She didn't know how to respond. This was insane. Who did that? Who just offered to pay for someone's education, especially someone like her? A server who worked long hours, doing whatever she could to keep up. "But why?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why would you do this for me? I don't even know you." Ven smiled, the warmth in his eyes never wavering. "Because I've been there. And I know what it feels like to think you have no way out. When you're stuck in a rut, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. But I want to help you see that there's a way forward. It's not charity, it's about giving you a chance to change your life." Emily took a step back, her heart pounding in her chest. This wasn't something she had ever expected. She had never imagined that someone like Vin Diesel would care enough to offer this kind of help. It wasn't just about money, it was about an opportunity,